How did a land without great rivers, without vast oceans, without abundant resources become the spiritual heart of half the world? This is the story of Israel and Palestine, two peoples, two lands bound by faith, scarred by history, and still full of life. A place where the past breathes in every stone, where prayers echo across generations, and where hope refuses to die. So if you're not in a hurry, take a moment, stay with us, and uncover the mysteries hidden deep within the soul of this ancient land. Jerusalem, a city that has been destroyed twice, besieged 23 times, attacked 52 times, and captured and recaptured 44 times. And yet, after thousands of years, it remains the spiritual heart of over 3 billion people around the world. Tucked between the sun-scorched rocks of the Middle East, where the desert meets the sky and the wind whispers like a forgotten myth, Jerusalem rises not as a city but as a mystery waiting to be unraveled. Small enough to walk across in a few hours, yet vast in the weight of untold stories etched into every stone. This is not merely a location on a map. It is where earth and heaven brush against each other, where whispered prayers in the night echo alongside morning church bells, and where three of the world's great faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, trace their sacred steps back to this very ground. Each belief opens a different passage into a maze of spiritual depth woven through with history, hope, and human longing. And somehow, through centuries of conflict, walls torn down and rebuilt, Jerusalem still stands not just with stone and mortar, but with unshaken spirit. It endures in the quiet glow of devotion, in the tears of pilgrims who touch its ancient walls for the first time, as if brushing against something beyond logic, beyond time. To understand Jerusalem is to understand how a single place can hold so many truths at once, how it can be simultaneously a city of peace and a city of conflict, a place of deep spiritual connection and bitter political division. The story of Jerusalem begins long before the religions that now claim it as holy ground. Archaeological evidence suggests that people have lived on this rocky hilltop for over 5,000 years, drawn perhaps by the natural springs that made settlement possible in an otherwise harsh landscape. The earliest known name for the city appears in Egyptian texts from around 2000 BCE, already marking it as a place of significance. But it was King David around 1000 BCE who transformed Jerusalem from a Jebusite stronghold into the capital of the United Kingdom of Israel. David captured the city and brought the Ark of the Covenant here, making Jerusalem not just a political capital but a spiritual center. His son Solomon would take this vision further, building the first temple on Mount Moriah, creating a dwelling place for God on earth according to Jewish belief. That temple stood for nearly 400 years before the Babylonians under King Nebuchadnezzar destroyed it in 586 BCE, carrying the Jewish elite into exile and scattering the population. Yet the connection to Jerusalem never broke. Even in exile, the Jewish people prayed facing toward this city, dreaming of return, and return they did. Under Persian rule, the Second Temple was built, not as grand as Solomon's perhaps, but no less significant. This temple would stand for centuries, witnessing the conquests of Alexander the Great, the rule of the Ptolemies and Seleucids, the Maccabean revolt, and finally the arrival of Rome. It was during this Second Temple period that Jesus of Nazareth walked these streets, taught in the temple courts, and ultimately was crucified just outside the city walls. The Romans would destroy the Second Temple in 70 CE during the Jewish revolt, leaving only the Western Wall standing, that same wall where millions come to pray today. Jerusalem would pass through many hands after Rome. The Byzantines made it a Christian city, building grand churches and establishing it as a pilgrimage destination. Then in 637 CE, Islamic armies under Caliph Umar entered Jerusalem peacefully, and the city began its long history as a center of Islamic civilization. The Dome of the Rock was completed in 691 CE, one of the oldest surviving Islamic structures in the world, built to honor the site of Muhammad's miraculous night journey to heaven. The Crusaders would conquer Jerusalem in 1099, establishing a Christian kingdom that lasted less than a century before Saladin recaptured it for Islam in 1187. The Mamluks, the Ottomans, the British Mandate, and finally the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 and the subsequent wars that would divide Jerusalem, each layer of history adding to the complexity of this city that somehow contains multitudes. The old city of Jerusalem today is divided into 4 distinct quarters, yet they are intertwined like blood vessels flowing through a single sacred heart.